All right, everyone. Welcome to Pest Control Millionaire episode number 16. Today we have my really good friend, Chris Brisson. He is from Carrollton, Virginia. He runs Meadow Lawn and Landscape. And we have about, what, you said 20 plus employees and finished about $2 million last year?
Yes.
Cool. Well, welcome to the podcast, and we're excited to have you here and get to pick your brain. Yeah, get to pick your brain for a while.
Okay.
So Chris is probably one of my, well, maybe one of two friends that I'm talking to right now that I still get the green bubble from. So we got to work on that. we got to get them to convert over to iPhone.
Yeah, it's the dark side.
Yeah, it is. Like they always ruin your group text too, you know?
Yeah.
You have everyone in a group text that's all blue, and then you add someone and turns everything green. You people. But anyway, thanks for being here. Chris is a stud, super sharp cat. We get to pick your brain, and this should be a fun one. I think Chris and I talk like once a week, maybe twice a week sometimes for hours on end. So this would just be like him and I talking on the phone.
All right.
So why don't you take us back to, because I know the story, you know, I talk to you all the time, but why don't you take us back to square one, like how this all started? Tell everyone like this is your full-time job, but not your full-time job, and kind of how you balance that. And let's get started there.
Sure. So, it's full-time, but not my full-time job. Started back in 2008, life-changing event. We were expecting our first child, wound up having twins. So I still work for the fire department, and I've been there for 21 years. So I wanted something to supplement our income, and we started that. And then within a couple of years, I realized that, man, this could have potential. So from there, it has evolved. It has had its challenges, especially working full-time at the fire department. And this basically takes my full-time hours as well required. So like during the busy season, spring through December, I average probably about 90 hours a week, maybe a little bit more than that between the two jobs. So
how do you balance that? Do you have specific days where you work on the business? Do you have specific days you have to work at I know obviously you have specific days to work at the fire department, but how do you balance the two? How do you get it all done?
Well, I have a great supporting cast with my brother and a great office team. When I'm at the firehouse, still say I'm always available, even though when I'm not. After hours, well, things slow down at work. In the evenings at the firehouse, I'll sit down and work on things. And then about every day that I'm not at the firehouse, I'm at the shop helping them wherever they need me to fill in. So it's a fine balance. Weekends are usually my time, so I try to disconnect. But it's Monday through Friday. I'm one of the two places.
Yeah, and then when you first got started, though, like, I mean, you had to do most of the work yourself, I'd assume. So how did you balance it then? Like, we were working at the fire hall. Did you take time off? What did that look like?
It's been a little bit of both. I used to take vacation from the firehouse to work on the business, to work in the business. Fortunate the way the schedule works that when I do take time off, I took a whole week off from the firehouse. The way it falls, it would give me almost 3 weeks off from there. So a lot of times I was taking vacation to work, which is not the point of vacation. But and in those days, a lot of things were just cloudy. I mean, we had no way to organize, track. So I was always pushing clients off. Communication probably was nowhere near where it's at today.
When you first started out, was your brother your first employee, or did he start right with you from day one?
No, I had another friend who is still with me to this day. He works for another fire department. My brother came on, I think it was like 2011, 2012. So it was a few years into it. He quit his job and came to work for me, which kind of pushed us in a different direction.
Now, is he a partner in the company, or does he work for you full-time still? Or what does that look like?
He works for me full-time, not a partner. Kind of treat him like a partner, but
yeah. Is he currently your operations manager?
Yeah, he's our operations manager. Talking about going into this season, some changes and giving him some more help, trying to free his time up so he can manage what needs to be managed.
So with your operations manager, we haven't talked a lot about that role, and on the podcast. I mean, be bits and pieces here and there, but what does his full-time job look like?
Um, Operationally, he's in charge of making sure all the guys get out in the morning. He's still doing some estimates. He's looking at budgeted times, the hours, making sure they're meeting those. He's overseeing the office, making sure that all the stuff administratively gets taken care of, billing, invoicing. Just he's everywhere.
He's a busy guy.
Do a little bit of everything. Yeah, he's a busy guy.
What kind of help are you trying to get him? Like a operations assistant, more office staff?
Yeah, so we have 2 full-time in the office, 1 part-time. We're moving to 3 full-time this spring. We did have him some help this last 2 seasons. We've kind of transitioned away from that position. So we have somebody else that has a sales background, also has a manager background that we think is a great fit to take a lot of those responsibilities off his plate and move us forward.
Awesome. And just to let everyone know, what services do you guys currently offer?
So we still do mowing. It's in a short radius of our service area. Our radius area is like 12 miles. And
it's unreal.
So 5 miles of that is probably mowing. Anything outside that we don't mow anymore. We do a lot of irrigation maintenance. We still do some landscape maintenance projects, but other than that, it's fert weed control. And we've got into pest control, so we're doing mosquito and some general pest control. This season, we're going to move into some interior pest control as well. So trying to expand on those services to move away from mowing and landscape, hopefully next year or so.
Yeah, I see that trend happen a lot everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like eventually the prices are going to start to go up in mowing because no one's doing it.
Yeah.
And the other services might start coming down. I could be wrong, but it's kind of what I see in the future because no one wants to do mowing anymore and everyone's getting out. And so the people who stay in, they might make some good money. I know that I always said that if I could be in a market like Dallas or a market like yours where I didn't have to travel very far and I could run the small little, van model with the push mower, like I would stay in too, but it's just not like that here. We're not populated and we're not dense. We have big lawns, equipment's expensive, so that's why I got out.
Right.
What made you want to get into like more of the pest control interior, exterior services?
I like it. It's more simple model. It's less people, less equipment. I look at it through the lenses, higher margins, you're able to attract more employees that if it requires a license or certification from the state, just better opportunities overall. I think it makes sense to say less moving parts is probably the easiest.
Yeah,
the way I look at it.
I agree with you because, like you said, you have a mower. And that one mower has a ton of moving parts and constantly breaking down, and it's a $8,000 to $10,000, $12,000 investment where you can go buy a backpack sprayer or a truck bed sprayer for anywhere from $300 to a couple $1,000. That relatively needs little maintenance, but some.
Right.
And if it goes down, you can pretty much find all the parts that you need to go fix it on hand. So, pretty easy model. I agree with you. I think cash flow in the winter is a big thing too for markets like ours.
Yep.
Especially for you. I know you don't get a ton of snow, but it still gets cold there.
It gets cold.
And with your fertilization weed control, do you guys service all year round there as well?
Pretty close. It's probably 10 months out of the year. January, February is kind of iffy with the weather. It's a roller coaster. I mean, you try to finish your last round in December, you're looking at soil temps because you don't know what you're going to get for a winter around here. It could be cold. We could get a lot of snow. Or like last week, it was 70s here, and now it's in the 50s. So we have to start looking at soil temps. We'll start our first round with pre-emergence probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Awesome.
With the way things are going right now.
Yeah, we don't have much snow here either. So it is winter right now. So that brings up a couple questions that you didn't talk about. You guys do Christmas lights too, right?
That's right.
And I saw your pretty dope trailer. So if anyone wants to see this trailer, you guys should check it out. You can check them out on Facebook. Is it on there?
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah.
It was really cool. I don't mean to give away all your secrets, but you got this whole big trailer wrapped. And then they had a big stereo sound system and speaker inside the trailer, and they blasted Christmas music to get attention. And man, that was so smart. That was money. So good work on that. Why don't you how did that come about? And tell us a little bit the story behind that. You told me, but it's pretty cool.
So we wanted to just be more organized. So I bought a trailer, and I didn't know what that looked like. And, people are always on social media posting pictures of their trailers. And I started saying, like, well, I like that about their trailer. I like this. I like that. So I started thinking, man, it'd be great if you had a character on the side of it. So we had an elf made wearing our uniform. And I gave it to our designer, looked wrap shop, and said, hey, I like all these aspects about these different trailer designs, and here's my character I had made. See what you can come up with. So we came up with it, and turned out pretty good. The first day we went and picked it up, our driver got back, and he said he thought something was wrong because people were blowing the horn and waving at him, and he's like, I had no idea. He said he pulled off the side of the road just to check and realized that they were just waving at him because of the trailer. So that was pretty cool. And I stopped by to take some pictures of the working one day, and they pulled up to the job. It was probably within 15 minutes, they had 5 people stop, and because they saw the trailer, one guy followed them into the neighborhood. So it really stands out and looks good.
And then how did the whole speaker come into play?
They had a small speaker, and they decided to go buy one. It's pretty huge. It's like a subwoofer and everything. And when they're playing it, you can probably hear it about 5 or 6 houses down from you. So
that's incredible marketing. Like, that's genius. And I think for anyone listening that does Christmas lights, we just dropped a bomb on them. So good work, Chris. That was really cool. And then what do you do in the winter to keep you guys busy? Do you lay them off? Do they work all year round? What does that look like for you guys?
We try to keep them busy year round. We try to fill the schedule. I mean, some of the services we're trying to get away from, like landscape enhancements and cleanups and all that, we're still doing some of that until we figure all that out right now. Right now, the guys are pretty busy. They're steady. So they're doing some cleanups and some landscape jobs. And we also have a premium bed care package. So right now there's a bunch of that going on where we're going and putting pre-emergence in beds and getting those ready for spring. So it kind of helps out a lot.
Yeah. So, well, you're going to continue doing that service, that one for sure.
The premium bed care.
Yeah.
It's genius. It's easy. Yeah.
And how many applications do you do for that?
I think it winds up, I'm trying to remember. So March through November, it's twice a month. And then December through February, it's once a month. So
are you going there and putting pre-emergent down every time? Or you're doing some post-emergent? What was
that? So it starts, there's 3 or 4 pre-emergent rounds a year, depending on what we think is going to be needed. More than likely 3. And then everything else is post-emergent. So they're going during the peak season every 2 weeks. They're spraying anything that's starting to pop up, and then they're pulling anything that's larger. But if you get the pre-emergence down right, you're having very minimal weed growth. So in the upfront, costs us a little bit more to get the beds under control. But as time goes on, that it's very little product, very little time, and it's pretty quick service.
Yeah. Do you rotate your pre-emergent, or do you use the same pre-emergent for all 3 applications?
He's been rotating it the last couple of years, using like Snapshot, freehand, stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I see that being a model that a lot of people are using too. And again, it's one of those services that you can offer that are high margins. You need to have a license for it, kind of like Pest Control for the weed control. A great service to keep you guys busy, especially this time of the year.
Yep.
So you ended at about $2 million this year. What's the goal for 2023, and what's the vision like for Meadow Lawn and Pest?
Wow. 2023, we've talked about it a little bit. I think we're going to try to shoot for like 2.6, 2.7, that range. And the vision is we have it set, or more our mission in about 2025 to be serving 5,000 clients. I think we're currently like at 2,200.
That's awesome. So it'll be about 700-800 in growth this year, you're hoping?
That's what we're hoping, yeah.
Cool. And that brings us to the next topic then. What's your plan to grow? Like, what's your marketing look like?
So we use a marketing agency. We use online, and that has helped out tremendously. We recently just it took us a whole year to get all of our vehicles rebranded. So everything is wrapped as of last week, actually. So I think that's starting to gain some traction. Well, we're doing video content, but the branding of the vehicles is probably the biggest thing we're seeing right now, because our radius is so small for our service market that people think that we're a franchise when we're not, because we stand out so much from everybody else.
And you wrapped all the vehicles in green, right?
Yep.
Lime green?
Yeah. Lime green, and toward the center of the logo, it's more of a yellow, so it fades. So they used to all be painted green and they stood out, but they're really bright now.
That's awesome.
So you can't miss them.
So you use Lawnline to do any other marketing besides online marketing?
They manage our SEO. They're doing blog posts, are managing our social media, stuff like that.
Cool. And then as far as like offline marketing, you guys going to do any of that this year?
Offline, we do a lot of upsell campaigns.
Cool.
Lawnline helps with some of that. We run several through Service Autopilot, and that helps out tremendously. A lot of things that we go after is one-time clients from the year before. If we serviced your home in March of last year, we're reaching out to you this February trying to resell you on that same service. So we're trying to compound that so we don't lose that traction on that.
Yeah, actually, I saw a couple of comments on Facebook on a couple of the pages that we're in about CRMs and what people use and all the different ones out there. But a lot of people still just don't realize what a CRM and how powerful it is and what an upsell email campaign can do for you. And so I was reading through this morning. I'm like, man, I can't believe that people still just don't understand. Like, they're using, just a regular like app on their phone to charge credit cards, and they have no way to find their customers. When did you start with a CRM, and what CRM did you choose first?
Oh, it's a great story on that one.
Cool.
So
love good stories.
I had to take it back to 2016, and the business was struggling. We were mostly commercial, very little residential. I hated the model. We had terrible cash flow. And I sat down one night and found a business group, and it was attached to a software. We're just going to say it was Service Autopilot. So I went to their conference that year. I wasn't using the software. I was part of the group, wasn't using the software. I was still pen and paper. And I came home and said, we're making the switch. So that's what we did. And,
so you found Academy before you found...
Yes.
Really?
So I joined Academy, and I went to SA2, and I wasn't using the software, and I was a part of Academy. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even know that. That's interesting. So how did you find the Academy before the software?
I was searching keywords on Google, trying to find solutions for my misery.
Of course you were. That doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, so then you get to the conference, and then they start talking about Service Autopilot there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jonathan was on stage, and Mike Callahan got up and talked to, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I still doing things on paper? So,
and then it's a big undertaking, I should say, to implement a software. I mean, let's be honest, it's hard. It's a lot of work. It's not hard. It's just a lot of work figuring out the system, how it works.
Mm-hmm.
What has Service Autopilot done for your company, though?
It's freed up so much time. We run a ton of automations, from sales to office automations to our field technicians, pre-arrival, once the job is completed, just being able to communicate and pass on information without actually being a person touching some of that stuff.
Yeah. And, so some of the people that are on here might not even know what a CRM is, and I don't mean to dumb this down. But basically a CRM is just a spot where you can put all your customers in and talk to them and charge invoices and have your credit cards on file. So you're not using paper. It covers routing, text messages. Yep. But you brought up a really good point, which is automations. Why don't you just talk about what automations are and pick a few that you guys implemented that have really worked for you guys?
So automations, best put, is created in the system. There's triggers certain things that happen, then the software recognizes that. And so it picks it up and follows through for you. So you don't have to personally touch it, and which makes things easier. So like some of the things we use, like for ourselves, the 21 day to close, we send a estimate out to a potential client. And if they don't respond to it right away, the system will start sending them messages. It also on certain days prompt our office to follow up. It just makes that workflow so much more simple. We use a lot of pre-arrival, like, hey, we're coming to service your property. And once the technician's there, he takes pictures, he completes the job. It sends them a message, hey, job's been completed. In that text, we also embed videos or additional information. That way we can communicate and try to cut down on that customer calling in to have more questions. We try to answer all those up front. So those are probably the two that we use the most. And we use some upsell campaigns too. And some of those have fired off when we forgot they were getting ready to fire off.
Yeah.
And then my office is not in a really good mood for a couple of days.
For sure. So let's talk about that, because I know that last year you did some upsell campaigns that were major home runs. So an upsell campaign through a software system is literally, you create the automation, you create what the email templates look like, and then it's basically a touch of a button, right? So it take you a few hours to set it up, take you a few hours to come up with what the marketing piece looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But again, one click of a button, how much money could one email generate for you last year?
Well, we'll go back to last March. I mean, we talked about mulch, for example. Within 10 days, we sold $100,000 in mulch.
By a click of a button.
By a click of a button.
So that's how important that CRM software is to have, right? Because you can manage all your clients from there. And with one click of a button, you can send them another marketing campaign to make sure that the lifetime value client just keeps getting higher.
Right.
And all those one-time services are, again, one-time services this year and going forward.
Right.
It's a really good touch point, to keep in contact.
Yeah, you stay in front of them, even if there's a one-time service, and that's all they're ever going to buy from you. If you keep doing the upsell campaigns, some of them are going to buy something else from you.
Yeah. Do you work with any other companies that link with Service Autopilot? Like it sends out postcards or anything like that?
Like SendGem, we have that service. We've really never used it. Only other service that links with Service Autopilot, we use Simple Growth. They do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for us.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have Mike on here shortly too. So we could talk a lot about that going forward. So, but like I love having that CRM, and we don't need to like go down a huge rabbit hole here. But I just wanted to, because I saw that this morning, I'm like, we have to at least talk about it today, because people that are newer in business that just don't know. Just go find a software. You don't have to use Service Autopilot. That's where we all met. So that's where a lot of these people talk about. Service Autopilot's great. Anything from, Real Green, WorkWave, Jobber, just find something that works for your company.
Yeah, it's baffling. I mean, we see it all the time on social media, guys who don't, or they're asking that question, and find something that works. It makes your life a whole lot easier, especially when you're trying to grow. And some people don't want to grow so big. I think it also helps with cash flow. I mean, if you can auto charge cards, many guys still don't want to do that. They rather, mail an invoice or, get a check in the mail. So,
yeah. And I've said this a million times, but you don't know what you don't know. So the people that are listening that don't know, like, you can literally just have the credit card on file in the customer portal. You get done with the job, the technician clocks out of the job, and it auto charges a credit card, and you're paid.
Yeah. And we do that daily.
You're not waiting a month, 45, 60, 90 days to get paid.
No, same day.
It's the best thing ever. What would you say was the most important advice that you got when you started the business?
Important advice. Ooh.
Did you have a mentor before you got into Academy?
I didn't.
You're just winging it.
I was winging it.
Me too. So I laugh.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. So what would you say some of the best advice you've ever gotten for business when you were just starting out, even in 2016 when you found the software?
Have a plan to move forward. I mean, I look at it a lot of times. I was scared to market. market. I saw it as an expense. It was costing me money. And I think that was probably the biggest game changer. We see it all the time on social media. People talk about, I grow my business word of mouth. You're not growing but so big. You're going to have to do some marketing, or you're just going to fall in line with everybody else. You have to stand out. And I think that's probably the best advice I got was marketing and branding. You have to stand out.
Yeah.
To be different.
And then create that roadmap to where you're going to go.
Right.
And you brought about the marketing, like kind of like the ad spend. Do you guys have a set budget? Or if you get the return on investment on that marketing piece, are you just going to keep dumping money into it?
We keep dumping money into it. I think this last year was the most we've ever done. So, which was kind of scary up front thinking about it, but it started working. So we just kept putting more money towards it.
Yeah. And I think that everyone, you see that again on the social media, like how much you put on your marketing spend, what's your marketing spend look like? Well, yeah. And we were taught by the same person, right? And he just said, if you find something that's working, why would you stop putting money into that thing? If you're getting a return on investment, don't stop. Just keep rolling rolling forward,
Yeah.
And
you'll see a lot of guys that I'm sure you hear it, I spent $1,000 and I didn't get anything from it. $1,000 is not going to really move the needle much.
And where's that $1,000 getting spent on? Is it getting spent on?
Right.
Is it Facebook? Because Facebook will just spend your money just to spend it.
Right.
You can give them $1 million a month and they're going to spend it.
Yeah, and it's not a one-time thing. It's all about traction. You have to keep moving.
Yeah, it's not one ad. It's not one platform. You have to be everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Do you guys use Nextdoor by chance?
We have some. It's worked. Something where I think we're going to attempt again here in the next few weeks. What's going into spring with weed control. There's a lot of neighborhoods that we want to build out some more density, and I think we're going to do some targeting on that platform.
Now, is that something that you manage, or does Online manage that for you?
I guess they could. We've managed it the whole time. So
cool. Now I'm going to pick your brain because we have not had great luck with it, and I know other people have in their markets. So I think that every market's a little bit different. What have you found that works good in it?
I think you have to entice them with an offer. I think that's the biggest thing with Nextdoor.
You're the second person who's told me that.
You're not going to get much if you don't have an offer. And I'm not trying to give discounts for everything. But you have to entice them somehow.
And now, do you post an ad in there?
Yeah, a picture, ad, put wording on it, and then you can create a link, to email you or call you.
And now, do you have to be in every single neighborhood? And is it a separate ad for every neighborhood?
I think the last time we did it was by zip code. So, which can be kind of difficult, especially if you're trying to target some neighborhoods and try to stay out of certain areas.
Yeah, I could see that being an issue if you only travel like 5 miles from your office.
Yeah.
And then try to target that one zip code.
Right.
How many zip codes are over there?
A lot. I think ours is 6. Like we were talking earlier, 12-mile radius, that's maybe 100,000 people in a region of 1.8 million. So I don't want to travel to some of those areas. Just traffic is just, until we can move in those areas, I don't want to be in them.
Is that the hardest thing about those other areas, just trying to get there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like around
anything outside of 12 miles, depending on the day, it could be a 40-minute commute back to the shop.
That's wild. So like here, if you go 12 miles, that's like 12 minutes. So it doesn't take long to get across town. We have like 4 stoplights, It's not hard around here.
Wow.
Well, there might be 6, but you know what I mean. So you can get anywhere here. So, we travel, like my old company travel 45 minutes to an hour.
That used to be us.
To get to a different city, but we had a lot of clients in those cities, so it actually worked out good. Where we just keep a technician up there or truck right up there, and we still do that for the weed control and pest control. Just have different cities built out, but it's a lot more. It's a little easier. We're not pulling a trailer back and forth an hour each way and trying to pay your technicians, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
but we just didn't have that density here to only travel 12 miles. It's a challenge.
And 5 years ago, the density wasn't here. Starting to build out more, like right within my community. There's like 3,000 plus approved building permits right now for the next 5 years. So there's going to be massive growth just around our shop within a couple miles.
Yeah. When you first started out, though, you didn't have a lot of ad spend. You didn't have a lot of, marketing. What did you do in the beginning to help grow?
I didn't brand any trucks. Didn't have anything. I bought some T-shirts. It's kind of strange. At the firehouse, had a guy who did website design, and he said I need a website. So he created me a website, and at that time with SEO, things were slightly different. I mean, it wound up being a top page within a couple of weeks, and I had a gentleman call me, a 100-acre estate. So he was my biggest customer for the longest time. So that's how we everything else was word of mouth. So, and then a little bit of digging, trying to get him with some builders and stuff. And we were doing anything and everything at that time.
Yeah. Are you in any like groups like within your city or within the
Like
county?
BNI.
Yeah, like a BNI or a chamber or anything like that.
I looked at BNI. I didn't care for how that was done. So we are part of the chamber, the local chamber. We have done some things with them a few times, but
Yeah, us too. Have you ever like hosted any events with them?
no. Mm-mm.
So you can go there and you can pay to sponsor the event, and they have all your stuff set up. And we sent a couple of our sales guys there, and it was a pretty big win for us.
Awesome. Yeah, check that out.
Well, what about like any fair? Like, do you guys have any fairs or anything like that, or big events that you guys can put a booth at?
Yeah, we have a county fair every year that draws thousands. It's probably become the big in the region, and every year we're going to do that next year, and we don't.
Come on, Chris.
That's like when there's back in December the Christmas parade in town. I don't know how many other business owners joked on me because I didn't put my truck and trailer for the Christmas lights in the parade because it stands out. So
here, let's circle back to this about marketing calendar.
Right.
Like you wanted a roadmap for the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the most important things. And same thing, create a roadmap for marketing. Just make sure that you write it all up through the entire year and give it to your office staff and say, here, make sure that this gets done.
That's right.
That way,
and I felt that.
when you're not high in follow through, the things still get done.
Right.
What are you in follow through?
It says a 7, but I highly doubt it.
You're better than me. I'm a 2.
I'm easily distracted.
You're a quick start.
Yeah.
You weren't though.
What's that?
You weren't a quick start for a long time. They said, right?
Right.
And then you retook the Colby test.
I retook it. Yeah. I've had nobody look at it, but it says that I'm more of a quick start. I think my office gets frustrated with me because I throw out ideas all the time. So.
And we were talking before the podcast even started about whiteboards.
Yeah.
Like my brain just doesn't stop. So I just do brain dumps, right? I just get it out of my head, and I have whiteboards all over the place, just so I can write it down so I don't forget it. And I have, like when I'm driving down the road, I have my notes open, and I just tell Siri to enter in my notes as I'm thinking.
Yeah. Hey, you talk about whiteboards. I just a huge blue glass dry erase board in the office, and I've got into using the wall Post-it notes. So they're in there as well.
So are you gonna do the fair this year?
I think so.
All right. Are you gonna do the parade?
Yeah, I'm doing the parade. Yeah.
Good.
I have big plans for that.
You said you were gonna get a sales guy, right?
We talked about it, and I don't know if we're trying to streamline everything where we don't have to necessarily have to send somebody out.
Yeah.
So trying to figure that out.
For sure. But that sales guy could sit at that fair, right? In a booth.
He could.
You could set up something that's really cool, like a competition or free giveaways where they have to enter their information. Now you have 1,000, 15, 2,000 people, right? Plus that could enter. You just put it all into service autopilot and keep following up with them.
Yeah.
It's something so simple.
I've got the perfect person for it. So.
Do you? Your brother?
Yeah. No, the guy's going to help him. So this guy's a stud.
Good deal. So there you go. Now you're already keeping him busy for a week. Is that usually how long it runs a week?
Yeah, it starts like on a Tuesday and finishes up on Sunday. So
cool. I know when we first started the podcast, we talked about you're around 20 employees, 20 plus, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably have to add I'm guessing 4 employees to grow, right? I'm assuming,
yeah.
depending on what services. What's your plan to attract your employees? What does your hiring process look like, and what's the plan?
We do a lot of employee referrals within, and that has worked some. We also use, man, I'm going to brain dump right now.
Libby?
Yes, we use Wheat Recruit.
There
yes.
we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that has helped. And we run some positions through that, and they kind of screen those for us and send them along. So that was something else we've done.
Has that been a big win for you guys? Wheat Recruit?
I think so. Last year it helped out tremendously. It kind of weeded out the folks that weren't, they're just filling out applications. And we still saw some of that. I think at some point last year we were talking for every 10 people who made it through the screening process, maybe 3 showed up. So
do you think this year we'll get back to interviewing, or do you think it's going to be another year of bringing 10 people in, hopefully that want to show up?
I think you're going to see a little bit more. It's going to ease a little bit, I'm hoping. In our community, or in our area, we're big. There's a lot of defense bill spending because it's a lot of military bases. So a lot of people in and out, but it's kind of hard to say. And I think that's the biggest thing, the reason we're thinking about moving away from certain services. So
when at the firehouse, right?
Right.
Are you guys hiring at the firehouse right now?
Constantly.
Okay. Let me ask you that question then. Are people applying there?
Not the way it used to be. I mean, you might, at one, say 10 years ago, you might have had 5 positions open. You would have 100 people apply, and they're constantly running ads right now trying to get people to apply. So, and I think their attraction is they've gone after guys that are just getting out of the military, since we're a big military, region.
Yeah.
And that's kind of helped them out. But that struggle is just not our department, but all the cities around here are having the same problems.
Is there anything that you learned from the firehouse that you transitioned, that you brought into the business that you learned? I mean, you're always like I kind of laugh because you're kind of like a firefighter at both jobs, right?
Right.
Putting out fires in one, putting out fires in the other.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think the biggest thing with the firehouse is everything's so structured. And you always have somebody telling you this is how it's going to be done. This is the process. There's no, it's kind of restricted to let you figure out how to get the work done. And I'm more in the thought process of who's your who, and let them do their how, get out of their way. And I think that's the biggest difference between the two with the business. I know who my who's are. I want them to get, this is how they're going to do the work. If it's done right and we can keep moving forward, awesome. But with the fire department, it's more restricted. It's so structured. It's not much thinking for yourself in certain situations, if that makes sense.
It does. So do they have like SOPs for everything at the firehouse?
Everything.
Now, did you take that into the business?
No, I didn't. I mean, there's some basic things that we've done. I mean, but other than that, no. I mean, it's a lot of. I think a lot of the things, especially, it's just not my department. A lot of the SOPs are put together because of things or situations that have happened. Instead of addressing the issue head on with the situation, they put an SOP out for everybody.
Yeah. How about like leadership? Because I'm sure you've learned a ton about leadership in the firehouse, right?
Right.
Have you learned anything about leadership that you could bring from the firehouse to the business?
Probably the biggest thing is don't micromanage people. You have to be a good listener. You have to stand up for your people. You have to give them the tools and the resources. You have to be a cheerleader.
And I always say that I'll micromanage you until I can trust you. And once I trust you, you'll never hear from me again for the most part.
Right.
Micromanaged until I trust you. And once they trust you, you're good.
Yeah.
That's just my philosophy. I'll keep, for the first month, 2 months, I'll be checking on data, make sure everything's going good. From there on out, if you're doing a great job, I don't need to micromanage you. I shouldn't have to.
No. Everybody understands what the end mission is.
Yep.
Let them do their how and figure it out.
Did you read that book currently? Or recently, I should say? The Who, Not How?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I've not finished it yet. I started it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I read that probably about a year ago. I was cruising down the road, and it's a short read, right? I think I read it in person, and then I listened to it again on a drive, and it was a great book.
Yeah.
Any other book recommendations you got?
I'm not a big reader. I'm going to be honest with you. My attention span is short. I do a lot of stuff, so
yeah.
Nothing sticks really out at the moment. So
right. And then we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to go on to mentoring, because I know who your first mentor was and how impactful was finding a coaching group and a mentor.
Huge. It's a different mindset. What you don't know, you don't know. I felt like I was on my island by myself, and just being able to hear somebody say, here's a pathway to move forward makes things so much easier, and being around other like-minded individuals.
Yeah, you think you're the only one who has these problems, and all of a sudden you start talking to someone else and they all have all the same problems you are, so you guys just connect super fast, right? And so we were in that coaching group together for 5 or 6 years, and then the group kind of closed down, and then you joined a new group recently, right?
Yep.
And how's that been going?
It's pretty awesome. I feel like there's a lot of accountability. Monthly meetings, and then we have hot seats once a month, and where you come to the table through a Zoom call, and guys all over the country, and you present your thought or your concern for what's going on at the moment, and I found it was pretty impactful. Others have been through that same situation. Or the way it's presented is you don't give too much information. You allow the people listening to develop some kind of thought process so they can ask some questions that would be beneficial to you getting through that solution.
I like that. So when you're on their hot seat, you're giving them your problem, and then you have guys from across the country in the same industry trying to help you solve it.
Right.
And I think we did similar, but there probably wasn't a whole lot of accountability back then. What part of the accountability do you like most, and what does the accountability look like in that group?
Make sure you follow through. I'm terrible at following through. They'll send you an email, call you, like, hey, where are you at on this? Haven't seen you complete it yet.
Is there any repercussions?
I don't think there's been any yet that I know of.
Slap on the wrist.
Right. Yeah.
I think my wrists have been bruised for months now. I'm the same way. My follow through is terrible. But when I have to get stuff done, ultimately I get them done. That's just how I operate. But there's things that fall through cracks for sure.
All the time.
I have a really good team around me that keeps my stuff together.
Yeah.
And we don't need to name drop names, but in the group there's some pretty high level people in there. What is the biggest thing you've learned from them in the past, what has it been, 3-4 months? What's your one big takeaway?
That a lot of guys have a clear vision of where they're going, which, I thought I did, but it's at such a higher level of thinking, kind of pushes you in a direction. I want to call it a funnel, but you need to have a better idea, concise, of what next week looks like, month. I mean, all those are short term, but what are the long term visions?
Yeah.
I think that's where it's kind of helped us. Like I said, by 2025, we want to be 5,000 clients, almost double what we have now. And it's kind of pushing us into a direction of you need to have these things in place or you're not going to get there.
Yeah. So is it kind of like the EOS model then?
It's very similar, yes.
And I think it's their own that they made up. Is that what you told me?
Yeah.
Or their own platform type. And so, I'm not just shouting out EOS, but just because of what we use, you're going to write down your 10-year, 5-year, 3-year goals, 1-year goals, and then you're breaking into quarterly rocks. Break it down how you're going to get to your goals, right? Now, do you guys do a yearly offsite as well? Kind of the same thing?
With the group,
Yeah.
or
Well, not with the group, but like with your company.
yeah, it's recommended to do that. So you're doing your weekly meetings, your quarterly meetings, and you're doing your strategic planning for the next season and everything. Doing offsite meetings.
Awesome. And do you guys do like travel as a group together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you guys go do some site visits?
Yep. We so we 4 visits a year, and then we go visit a couple companies, and which we did that back in November, which was really good, and visited somebody that used to be a part of Academy, and then his partner, a much larger operation, which was pretty wild to see what they're doing.
Is it all landscape industry, or is there other industries involved?
There's some other industries involved. Yeah.
Which, like, what's the other services industries do you think are in there?
There's some cleaning operations in there. That's probably the biggest thing. Yeah. Most of the guys are moving more toward weed control pest services that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's the trend, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And like, is there like a roadmap in that group, or is it just kind of you don't know what's coming down the pipeline, like kind of like what we did, or?
No, months in advance of what's going on. I think right now we know up till June what the sessions are that are coming up.
Cool.
We know what our next events are months in advance, so you kind of have an idea. I mean, it gives you like a short syllabus, but you really don't know what that deep dive into that subject is yet.
Yeah, so like on our academy calls, they could be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. Like some of them got super long. Are these ones like that as well?
No, they've been typically hour and a half, 2 hour max.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about your hot seats? How long are those?
They've been 2 hours.
And you said that they have like 2 different platforms, one for companies under $1 million and then one for over $1 million. Yeah. And is the under $1 million set up the same structure, same coaches?
I think it's set up similar. There's some other guys that were like in our previous academy group.
Yeah.
They're helping those guys figure that out, trying to get to that 1 million mark.
Cool. Love that. And I've been obviously super interested. I know the guys that are in there. I know the guys that run it. Super cool. I saw something on Mike's Facebook that he is having a talk with Mike Andes today, Facebook Live. So that'll be interesting to see what they're doing.
I'm interested to see what that's about.
Yeah. And I kind of laughed because it was like the post was like, it's not about which Mike is taller.
Right.
I kind of feel tall when I go around those guys. You know,
yeah, me too.
I'm not very tall as it is, so I stand by them. I'm like, yeah, I'm in a good spot here. What are you most proud of in your career so far?
With the business or the fire department?
Both.
Both. Fire department is coming to an end soon.
Yeah. How long have you been there?
21 years.
Unreal. So we talked about this in the past. It didn't make sense for you to leave.
No.
You had so much invested there already. You know, you're working on your retirement. And how much longer do you have there?
I joke about this. So it was at one point several years ago. So I was leaving at 20 years, and I started looking at on paper. I'm like, nah, I want that extra money. But now, 3 years, 2 months, and some change. I don't know the exact, but I can give you that, and I'm done.
Nice. And who was Chris back in high school?
Back in high school, man. That's a good question. If I could change some things, I would. No, I'm just joking.
I think we all.
Back in high school, man, I played a little bit of sports, played golf, baseball. I worked a lot. I goofed off. I hated school.
Yeah, me too. I was ultra competitive, though.
Yeah.
Were you competitive?
I think so, yeah.
Are you still competitive?
Oh, yeah.
Is that why like business is kind of like a sport, right? And
it is a sport, yeah.
So we're always talking to each other, not just you and I, but industry leaders, like who's going where, what we're doing, trying to fight for the top position. We're all competitive and we all want to win, but we all love to see each other win too.
That's right.
Right, we really do. Like, there's not a single person that I know that I'm friends with who is like mad at someone for doing a good job.
That's right.
We all have haters, but they don't come from the people that are at same level and are in front of us, they always come from people who are behind us. I always say that if you don't have haters, you're doing something right or doing something wrong. And if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, right? That's what I always say. Do you guys, for your guys, for your staff now, do you guys do like 401ks? Do you guys do anything special for those guys to really keep those guys that are really invested in the team around for long term?
So we're trying to do more. We do. I mean, it's a lot of it's culture stuff, but like we try to do breakfast or lunch or whatever that might be. We do get the guys breakfast and lunch every day, so they don't have to pay for any of that. It's all covered. All their drinks are covered. We do have a 401k. We do have a dental plan. And we have, we offer, we'll pay a percentage of your health care, but it seems like a lot of guys, younger guys just aren't quite interested in that.
Yep, we do the same thing. And it seems like the higher level people, right? They'll take it, but the other guys won't. Right. A lot of times, what their wives have, their wives are teachers or wives are nurses or whatever. They already have insurance. They don't have to take ours. Yep. Yeah, so we kind of run into the same thing. But it's like, CFO, COO, things like that. They always take it.
Yeah.
If you could give one piece of advice to a person that's just starting out in business, or maybe even like a year in the service industry, what would you tell them?
Surround yourself with people that are like-minded. Join a group. The faster you do that, the easier things are going to be. That's
some solid advice, and I'd say the same thing. Again, you don't know what you don't know, but until you get around those people that can solve those problems for you, man. Quick story. I have my stepbrother and one of my really good friends from high school started a business together like a year ago. Mm-hmm. They work hard, they're smart, they just don't know what they're doing. Right? They don't. And so they've always asked me questions. I've helped them out here and there. But you have to let them kind of learn on their own too, right? Like just to get a feel for what it's really like out there. Let them start, at school, hard knocks, run into some challenges that they don't know how to solve. Yeah. And then fast forward, 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I just had really good mentors too. But I've been through all those problems. Mm-hmm. Like I literally saved them 5-10 years of their life already. Everything was still on paper. They have money sitting out there that's owed to them, and which we got in an hour yesterday. Like, here, just do this, solve that problem. Like, went and picked up checks that day. And they're like, man, like simple things that you just don't know when you're first starting out, that people can solve those problems so much faster. Like, to watch them like grow as fast as they have in 2 weeks is absolutely incredible. And something so small that we can do for the business owners that are out there that are working really hard. They're young. They have a lot of ambition. They want to be good at their job. Like those are the people that we need to help, and that's what I feel like Jonathan did with us. Like he saw a gap out there with people who are really hungry and eager and wanted to learn. They just didn't know where to go, and that's kind of what this whole podcast is about. It's just helping those people that are smaller in business or medium size or even a little bit bigger, help them through the challenging times together. Right. So that's what the podcast is about, just going back and giving people information that we didn't have. We didn't have a resource to go to. Like when I first started, there wasn't really YouTube. There wasn't anywhere to go. Like, it's like once you got to the top, like you didn't have anyone that would tell you what to do. Your competitors weren't telling you because they already seen you growing, so you can't go to them. And you find a group, and now that group is my best friends across the country, which is amazing. Yeah. Join a group as soon as you can. Get on a CRM. And make yourself stand out. Surround yourself with people that are going through the same things you are. Somebody else has been there, done that. They're going to give you a solution. I love that. We're in the right direction. Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up. We're about an hour. I don't want to keep you all day, and try to keep these somewhat shorter so that people can listen to them on a quick drive. I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time with us, and thanks for dropping some bombs on us today. Yeah, thanks for having us. Of course. And I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right, take it easy.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the Pest Control Millionaire Podcast. If this was valuable to you, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It really makes a big difference for our growth. And if you do need any help growing your business, go ahead and check out pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We have lots of courses up there, from sales to operations. I have some courses there about producing short form content. Plus, we have a mentorship program where you can get one-on-one business coaching from the Pest Control Millionaire himself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.